Good morning, Cubers. This is July 4th, 2014. It's another glorious, humid, cloudy, overcast day in Karachi. This is BDC 3. First of all, thank you very much once again for all the comments, the discussion that's already been raised from the last two videos. I'm most excited about that. Thank you also to Rumana Hussain for her words of wisdom, and I'm going to pick up on that, thoughts on craft. Bilal, who is interested in finding out about what's the relevance of the arts and crafts movement in Pakistan. Mohammad Umar, thank you very much for your thoughts on Peter Zumthor, and of course connecting right from that to Neha's questions about architecture and sensuality. Hassan, we'll start with you. Last but not the least, you brought up this notion of why is it that we're taught what we're taught in these highfalutin manners in terms of philosophy and values of architecture and what perfect architecture is, and multi-billion dollar projects, iconic architecture, etc., that we study in architecture school. But when you come to real life, there seems to be an apparent just problem solving where it's just functionality we look at. The form is just a slave to the function. Now, there's a reality to life. There's a reality to where we live. There's a reality to the fact that it is a business, it has to be run. It's not an art form. It has to respond to the client's needs. It has to respond to the materials available and all sorts of other issues. So looking at the bigger picture, if we start with Peter Zumthor, an excellent craftsman in terms of an architect. You look at his education, you look at his background, look at where he's lived, where he's grown up, where he's worked. The man is a poet. Yes, there's lyricism in his work, there's sensuality in his work, there's emotion, there's memory, there's all sorts of things, and it's fantastic, no doubt. But the question really is that do we really want to emulate or plagiarize, God forbid, or mimic something that's been done in Switzerland by a Swiss architect, or do we want to look at what is relevant to us, that's appropriate to us in this region, in this culture, whether it's a culture of traditions and crafts or it's a culture of spirituality and religious thought. There's an appropriateness that we must apply as architects today. You're welcome to be inspired by anybody around the world, from Peter Zumthor to Tarawando, but when it comes to application in Pakistan, we have a language that we need to develop for ourselves that may be from learnings of others, but it's our own definition, our own language, our own structure, our own format. And what one finds that in terms of the architecture that's happening in Pakistan, it's not that there's bad architecture or the architects are really, really bad, not at all. They're responding to society, the reflections of who we are today, what contemporary Pakistan really stands for. And the biggest issue that we should really look at, I believe, is the gap between your top-notch architects and your top-notch skilled craftsmen. There is still a vast gap between their knowledge of materials, of expectations of each other's delivery, of construction details. The fact that we want to talk about the craft of architecture, not just the sensuality of it, not just the problem-solving ability, not just the zoning and the materials, but the crafting of an entire experience, the crafting of an entire space, the crafting of a series of journeys that one should be experiencing through any building, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. And that craftsmanship of that final finished product, that product of a pursuit of excellence will come when there is much closer a bond, much more synergy between our present day skilled craftsman and his education, his background, and the gap that should be filled between the architect, his education and his background. That gap has to be filled. So I think the bottom line is yes, of course, Bilal, we need an arts and crafts movement. We need a body of people, a think tank from the architecture and the design industry to come together and look at our traditions, look at our culture, look at our handicrafts, bring them back alive in a contemporary idiom, and use architectural learnings from our top-end universities, the architects that they're producing, and our mentors, professionals that are already in the industry. There's 3 generations of them who are producing fantastic work. We can look at the work of Ahad Saab, you can look at the work of Najib Umar, and then find a way of bringing these things together where the craftsman, the bar of the quality of the craft is raised along with the quality of the architectural experience. So it's not one or the other. Both of them have to be built together. And yes, we are desperately in need of an arts and crafts movement. We're desperately in need of our own language of architecture and design. This is where we should be going and thinking about what will we do as designers of our societies and our people and our homes and our contemporary culture tomorrow. If that works for you, Let's continue this conversation in the next video. Thank you.